All right. Well, I never actually had to do this before, but my next guest is what you call a super lawyer. We talk a lot about legal concepts. We talk about business. We talk about entrepreneurship. We even talk about money. And so we need to let you know that what we're about to talk about is not intended to be legal or financial advice. If you have any questions, we suggest that you seek counsel. So make sure you stay tuned for this next episode of the Alden Report. I think you're going to like it.
This is the Alden Report.
Folks, before we get into our next guest, I'm super excited about our latest program. Look, we've been on television for close to 20 years, literally selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of products and services that have had a positive impact on people's lives. We've created millionaires. If you've ever watched television, you've most likely seen me on television, not dressed like this, but in a suit and in a tie. Listen, we've re-engineered the process. We're allowing people, a small group of people, whether you're an author, whether you're a business coach, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you have a program or a service that you feel as though that can have a positive impact on people's lives, and you want to up-level your game. You know, you're tired of what's going on social media. You're tired of AI is not kicking in. You're tired of all the money that you spent and you're not seeing any return. You're tired of all these fraudsters out there that tell you they're going to put you in Huffington Post or USA Today or Forbes, and it's nothing just but a joke. You want to be in front of millions of people every single day all over the country. Folks, we've been doing it for 20 years. We've re-engineered the process. We've made it possible for the average everyday person to participate in this. If you want to up-level your game, if you truly want to build your profile, if you truly want to get in front of millions of people every single day, send me a direct message at Mike Alden 2012. You'll see it on the bottom of the screen, at Mike Alden 2012, and put TV in the message, and I will get back to you personally and see if you're a good fit for us. Again, send me a direct message at Mike Alden 2012. Send me the message TV, and we'll see if you're a good fit.
This is the Alden Report.
All right. My name is Mike Alden. We are here in Blue Bay Studios. I'm rocking the hat right now, which means, you know, it's getting kind of cold here in New England. I always seem to be rocking a sweatshirt since COVID. It just kind of is what it is, a little more comfortable, especially for big guys like me. And of course, I do have my 99-cent glasses. I was wearing the $17 glasses last time, but I'm throwing on my 99-cent glasses for a couple reasons. We have with us one of the top lawyers in the United States, what we call in Massachusetts, a super lawyer. He's been practicing law for over 20 years. He's had some major wins within the world motherfucker. I'll start over.
That's fine. 30 years, by the way, 30.
Yeah.
31 years.
Yeah.
That's fine. Don't, I'll, you know, you'll see I roll pretty easy, man. We'll roll just chatting, man. We'll roll.
Yeah. All right. My name is Mike Alden. We are here in Blue Bay Studios. I'm rocking the hat. It's getting to be a little cold outside. Of course, I have my 99-cent glasses. I have with me what we call here in Massachusetts, because we don't pronounce our R's, a super lawyer. His name is Fred Penney. He's also a best-selling author. He's a motivational speaker. I've listened to this guy speak. He motivates me. He's doing some big things, not only where he resides and where his practice is, but all over the country. And I'm also, there's another interesting thing about him. People don't know this. I'm a lawyer. A lot of people do know that. He's also admitted into the Supreme Court, which is kind of cool. He's been practicing law for 30 years. Behind him, you can't really see if you're watching right now, behind it, he's got a jet on his desk. Super jealous about that too. So we're going to talk to him about all sorts of stuff. So if you want to know what it takes to be a super lawyer, if you want to know what it takes to be great in your profession, then you're not going to want to miss this episode. Fred, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Mike. It's good to get to know you a little bit better, right? We're going to get to know each other a little bit better today.
Yeah, a little bit. So thanks for, I put these glasses on because I was, I'm a little nervous with a big time. I'm only kidding. So, a lot of people ask me, it sounds like you and I kind of grew up similar. You grew up, kind of poor, and I did as well. We became lawyers, but when you decided to become a lawyer, what I want to ask you this one, what was your thought process as in what kind of lawyer did you want to be? And before you answer the question, I remember sitting in Boston Common. I went to Suffolk Law nights in Boston, and I remember sitting in Boston Common finishing up reading the book of Civil Action, and I saw that with Jan Slickman and John Travolta. And Jan Slickman actually lives in my town, and I remember like that's what I want to do. Like I want to save the world. I want to help people, and I want to make a ton of money doing it. But when you decided to go to law school, did you know what kind of lawyer you wanted to be?
Yeah, good question. Here's the interesting thing. No, I didn't even want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I grew up on a small farm in a Northern California city that I think the population was around 605 or 650 people. And I worked at fruit orchards. I grew up working, when I was 14, I was working at the Vega Brothers fruit orchard picking peaches, right? And Piaz, P-I-A-Z, was my boss. And I loved it. Believe it or not, I love the country. I'm still a country boy. I still live on 100 acres, by the way, even now. And I loved doing that. And I loved tractors, cars, race cars. I was in the demolition derby. I mean, that was me. I was not a lawyer type. I wanted nothing to do with that. I wanted to be a farmer and rancher my whole life. That's what I wanted to be. And I remember my dad, who was a police officer and a rancher, and we grew up with nothing. There was 4 of us boys. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And it was really interesting because we had a different perspective, because mom was very religious and dad was not, right? And my dad, in fact, had the Marine tattoos. He's a Korean War vet, by the way, Purple Heart, 2 Bronze Stars, fought in Korea. He's one of what's called the Frozen Chosen. If you ever want to know about who that is, look it up. That's my dad, tough Marine, right? Rancher. And that's what we grew up with. And one day he just said to me, son, all I know is the end of the day, everybody's laying on the ground and there's one person standing holding the money. That's the lawyer. You need to go to law school, or you need to be a lawyer. I'm like, really? And I have an older brother that kind of set the way, and he went to law school. But I actually really wanted to work as a ranch hand, farmer, and then build race cars. And I worked at a wrecking yard that my dad, after he retired, we were part owners of a wrecking yard. And I remember, breaking one of the oil pan just to get it, and the oil spilled all over me. And I remember my dad walking up to me, he goes, "You ready to go to college, son?" I said, "Yeah." And that's what started it. That's what started me. And then I was off to college. By the way, colleges, they let me in only because they felt sorry for me. I wasn't the brightest. I didn't get really high grades. I was like a C student, but I was determined, right? And I worked hard. I grew up working hard. We worked long hours, and that's what we did. And I started when I was 14. I was picking peaches and working long hours at age 14. And I loved to play football, right? But my dad didn't let me play football, not because he didn't love sports, but because, what we had to do during that time? We had to work, because summertime was work time to go out and make money and bring it in and help the family and help us out. And that's what we did. And so I didn't play football, basketball I could, because that was a different season. So that's how kind of the first glimpse of becoming a lawyer. That's how it started.
So it's interesting. You said a lot of things there. And I think for people listening, you hear this kind of theme a lot with successful entrepreneurs like yourself. You don't necessarily hear it a lot within the legal profession because of just really what it takes, to get that degree, right? Again, this is why I wanted to have you on. You and I, very similar. I graduated high school with a 1.9 GPA. Yeah. I graduated 187 out of like 250 in my class. Nice. And I was fortunate enough to get into college. Similar to you, I wasn't a dummy. I just didn't do the work. So you get to college, and I think, again, we're similar. We're not just naturally gifted as far as our intellect. So you get to college, and at that point, though, did you start to say, okay, all right, I know what my brother's doing. My dad wants me to do this. Am I going to really just buckle down? Because one thing I talked to my daughter about, in fact, we just got her grades today, is that, and this, it's really, really difficult to start with a lower GPA. Like if you start out with which I did, and even in college, I started out with a 2.7 GPA. To start out there and then to make it to the top so that you can get decent grades so that you can even get into law school is really hard to do. So your freshman year, let's start there. I want to ask those questions. How'd you do your freshman year?
Terrible. Okay. I went to junior college at first because I couldn't get into college. Yeah. And I think I was about a 2.6 GPA. Yeah. And again, I wasn't stupid. Right. I just didn't apply myself. I didn't care.
Right.
I wasn't interested in school. I didn't like schooling. And
Right.
it's funny how, I still, even through law school, and I'll get to that in a minute, was not the brightest person in law school.
Mhm.
And I always say this, I said, those super smart people that like are top of the class, they're going to work for me someday. And sure enough, they did. Right.
Yeah,
And so I think I have more street smarts than most people.
Mhm.
That's where my skill is, not in the book smarts. And when you're a trial lawyer, it's about telling a story and relating to the jury. You can have the best case in the world, but if you don't relate to the jury, you don't tell the story right, you're an actor. I don't care what people say, you're an actor or an actress. And that's what I was good at, because I grew up on a small farm and I was just a farm boy. And for me, it's easy to talk to a jury. I just turn the chair around, would talk to them just like we're talking over, a root beer or whatever, because I'm not a drinker. So, whatever it is. And that's the way I kind of grew up. Everything's simple. People complicate stuff. And I made things simple in my life, which then made people understand me and kind of be in touch with me, right? Rather than, I still remember one of the trials, and I know I'm jumping ahead, of a power lawyer, superstar, super smart, and I won the case. And afterwards we polled the jury, and the jury said, you know what? You're really smart, but we kind of didn't understand what you're saying a lot of time. Mr. Penney, you're just like one of us, and that was the key, right? That was the key, is to just be yourself and be just a normal person. And believe it or not, those are the people that can succeed or do succeed in life. And that's the way I see it. It's about being tough, right? So back up really quick. You asked, how did I get to law school? How did that happen my freshman year? I always say this is an old man told me one time. He pulled me aside. I was 18, 19. And he said to myself, his name was Hugh Pinnock, by the way. And he said, he was a very successful person. He said, Fred, one important thing I want to teach you in life. I said, what's that? He said, marry a solution, not a problem. I'm like, what? He goes, I'll repeat it. Marry a solution, not a problem. Your wife is going to be the person that's going to build you and work with you or break you down. And as weird as that sounds, I married a solution my sophomore year in college. I got married. And I married a wonderful wife, 37 years married, and she has been the solution. I was the problem. She's the solution. But that's what I did. And I truly believe after that, my terrible grades started to rocket up. And my grades, I did very well in college after I got married, and my wife, who's super smart and brilliant, helped me. And she's, by the way, a registered nurse, put me through law school and paid for everything, working her tail off while pregnant, just making the money to put me through school. And so I say, how did I do through law school and college? It was because I married a solution, not a problem. That's what happened.
I like that story. And you hear a lot too. They say behind every good man, there's a great woman. So it sounds like you have that. So kudos and congratulations to that. So what was the problem?
Me, I was the problem.
Yeah, but what specifically? Because, all right, so I'll ask even more, because I remember my ex-wife actually one time when, so I graduated again, grew up poor, and I remember I was up for this job. I was happy. I was already working at the company, and so I was kind of a shoo-in. And this is 20 years ago. It was an in-house job, and I was going to ask for $65,000, right? So to me, that was like $1 million, plus they were going to pay for my Mercury Sable that I was driving.
Nice.
And she says to me, well, no, you should ask for more. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, you should ask for 100. And I was like, 100? I go, I don't even have my BBO number yet. I've never even practiced, And she said, well, that's what you're worth. And I was like, well, why? And she's like, well, because you understand the company. You've been working there. No lawyer is going to understand the business better than you. And so she helped me kind of level up my game, and I give her this credit, and we're still friends today. I still give this, the redhead I talked about earlier, still give her credit for that, because she helped me see the value in me. And is that really kind of what you're getting at with your wife, as far as the solution? She just helped uplift you because you said your grades skyrocketed, stuff like that.
Yeah. So let me tell you really quick, and I'm going to push forward past that really quick, because there's important things that she helped me with. But I wasn't a problem. I always say that. And by the way, I believe you don't have problems in life. I believe that we only have challenges, right? My staff will come in, hey, Mr. Penney. All the staff that know me will not say this, but the new ones will say, hey, I have a problem. No, you have a challenge. What's our challenge, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've always been a positive PMA, positive mental attitude person. And so as my wife, who was by my side, helped build me and helped buoy me, what I did is I've always believed, I've always fallen, right? I always fall down and get up. You hear the story, you just keep getting up. And I've got another story about that. I've got a lot of stories. Unfortunately, you're going to get tired of my stories, but this is what happened. I made it through college, went through law school. I was dead average. I remember sitting in law school, looking out of the windows of where we studied, and there's the big mansions up on a hill. It was, I was out of Utah. I went to Utah to law school. And I looked at these big mansions. I said to myself, someday I'm going to get there, right? And I didn't like school. I still don't like school, but I knew I had to push through. So what happened is, as I went through school, I got the big Bay Area firm that wanted to hire me, right? Based out of San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Cruz, where their offices, Oakland, and there was 4 of us, I believe, either 3 or 4 of us. I'm almost positive there's 4 of us.
This is like 1990.
This is 1989, no, 1990. Yeah. And so I
read your bio.
Yeah. So we were clerking, right? So you
Right.
clerk.
Right.
And so as I clerked there, they're trying to figure out who they're going to hire. And as they walked in, they sat in, and all 3 of the people were hired, and I was the only one not hired. And what do people automatically think about that? Mike, that's the first thing you're going to think is, I'm a failure.
Sure.
And you know what? I don't believe in failure. People always ask me, I've never failed in life, Mike. I've never failed. All I've gotten is experiences. And that to me is nothing but an experience. It is not a failure. And I always look back and say, if I would have been hired, I would have been working at a big mega firm, and I would have not started my own law practice 31 years ago on my own, just grinding and been as successful as I am now. So to me, when you think you failed, people think they failed. It is not such, there's no such thing as failure in my mind. Zig
Ziglar calls them temporary defeats, right?
That's exactly right. And it just so for me, I just went on and I said, well, I had nothing else to do. And I went and to a national law firm. I knew I was going to open my own practice. Everyone said, you're too young to open your own practice. I said, well, watch me, I'm going to do it. And I had a friend that was a managing partner of a national law firm. And he goes, I'll send you all of our crappy cases. And I said, okay. So they dumped 100 crappy cases on me. And within 6 months, I'm trying cases in superior court against lawyers. And so what, right? I'm just a go for it guy.
I want to stop you there for my own selfish needs. Again, we're on with Fred Penney. Listen, if you're listening right now, first of all, if you're listening right now and you're a lawyer, you just want to continue to hear this story. It reminds me of like that movie 1L, where you just get excited, learn a little bit about the law. This guy's doing big things. He's a radio host. We haven't talked about that. He's a best-selling author. His firm has had huge verdicts. He employs, I don't know, hundreds of people. He's been practicing for close to 30 years. So if you'd like some more information, you could also just go to pennylawyers.com. You can check out his book right on Amazon. Again, you can just Google his name as well. You'll find him out there. He's been doing stuff for a long time. So his name just comes up when you Google him. We'll talk about his book, Goose, Imagine the Possibilities, in a little bit as well. So let's talk about, again, I'm definitely being a little selfish here, because I remember the first time I got up in court, and it was actually at the oldest active courthouse in the United States in Newburyport. It was really kind of cool. So I sued 8 defendants, and it was my first case ever. It was like, and the lawyers that came in, they had me by double my age, and I knew so I went to high school with some of their kids. It's kind of funny. Nice. But for you, okay, so all right, you get dumped all these cases. You're on your own. You like you said, you were kind of average in law school, but you did pass the bar exam. I remember once. I'm going to ask the question in a second. I remember once I was in a negotiation with a guy from Harvard, and he told me he went to Harvard. He went to Harvard undergrad, and he went to Harvard Law School. And he was telling me this, right? And I said, "Wow, that's impressive." And I said, "Well, did you pass the bar exam?" And he said, "Yeah, of course I did." And I said, "Well, guess what?" He said, "I said I did too." And he's, right. You know what that makes us? We're both lawyers. So let's fucking go. Let's go. That's right. Because like you said, we're street smart. So your first case, not the briefs, not the motions, not the interrogatories, not all that stuff. First time you got to stand up in court. You remember that feeling? Were you nervous? What was it like?
Actually, no, I'll be honest with you, I'm not. I'm a different type of person. I'm definitely the different than normal person. I was going against a county snowplow versus auto accident, and it was a who, it was a who said who thing, and there's no witnesses other than the drivers, right?
Wait, hold on. How can you not be nervous though? Because listen, like the rules of civil procedure are the rules of civil procedure. They change every year, but they're pretty much the same. And so a lot of that stuff you just read in the books. And you, like you said, you clerked before, so I'm guessing you might have maybe sat second seat a little bit. You might have seen some stuff. But how do you really know? Because you've never really done it, right? That didn't make you nervous, like, maybe screwing up, an objection or the hearsay rule and all that stuff. You were just like, I'm not nervous.
I'll be honest with you. No, you don't know my person. No,
I think it's awesome. But let me tell you, I was sweating like you can't even imagine.
I'll be honest about a couple of things. First of all, I mean, not that I'm not. It was a small town. I was going against their local, the local town lawyer, and they had 2 lawyers. They were more seasoned. But you know what? This case that they gave me was a loser case. They said, you can't win this case.
Okay.
So I had no,
all right.
So what, right?
That's it.
And by the way, I lost the case, but that's okay, right? I think I was in practice 7 months or something like that. But I love the lawyers. I've never lost a case. Well, you've never tried a tough case then.
Right.
You're just taking cupcakes, man.
Right.
Try a tough case,
My first, pretty much an only client when I was in-house, my boss was a bit of a lunatic. I've talked about it in my book, so it's not privileged. And it's pretty public. And I remember, again, negotiating with people, and he came into my office one day. I was young, same thing, young. We had Safe Ross Shaw was our outside counsel, big law firm. So anything really major that, they came in, and I remember negotiating. It was this big negotiation. He came in and he said, listen, I got to tell you something. I don't care if we win or lose. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, I don't care if we lose. I'm like, we're talking millions. He's like, I don't care. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, here's all I want. I want you to fight and put in your best possible effort. If we have to bring in Safe Earth, we bring in Safe Earth. That's all I want you to do. And if we lose, we lose. And I told the other side that. And he goes, well, that's an enviable position to be in, but it's an amazing, what you just said, to be in that position where you have nothing to lose is probably stronger than knowing you're going to win. Right?
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing, man. So that I want to jump forward. Okay. So talking about law is boring, right? I always tell people on social media,
not for me.
I don't talk about law. Law is so boring, but here's the thing. It is business. I'm a businessman first, lawyer second, just like you're a businessman, right? And so this is what's important. I started building this practice and I started doing really well. Here's the key. Here is the nugget that I'm going to give to your listeners that are trying to, how am I going to get to the next level on the ladder, right? We're all going up a ladder. We're all on different rungs. I love the guys. Yeah, I was making $1 billion. Yes, I'm doing $1 billion. No, how about the person that's trying to make it from 20 grand to 30 grand, right? And it's the principles are the same. I started building and doing really well. The firm started booming. It was about 4 or 5 years later. And guess what? All my buddies were doing well. My buddy lawyers, they're buying Lamborghinis, Bentleys, living in the big houses. And I lived in a nice, humble 1,900 square foot home with my 3 kids, my wife, just an average home. And you know what? I could have started spending the money. The money's coming in. I'm not used to it, but this money's coming in. I'm like, wow, this is nuts. And I'm winning cases. And I was on television for cases, not a TV. I buy it for a TV lawyer, but they're interviewing me on cases, right? And so it's taking off. What do? I remember where I come from, and I start with these 3 words that I've always used in my life, and I still use to this day to become a successful business person, whether it's a law practice, radio ownership, owning a fast food restaurant chain, whatever you do, you have to use these 3 words. And if you use these 3 words and implement them in your life, the odds of you becoming successful are really high. And these are the words: resist, resist, and resist. If you remember those 3 words, not you specifically, Mike, I know you've done well, but even you at this stage, all of our stage, we have the tendency to want to spend money. It was so hard for me not to have the Lamborghini and the big house. I stayed in that humble house. And as I built this practice and boomed this personal injury firm in California, I reinvested in the firm, and I started buying companies, building companies, and buying real estate. That was 27 years ago. And I resisted the urge to spend the money. And let me tell you, everyone goes, well, Fred, yeah, I can do that too. Ready for this? I did it for 10 years, not 3 years, not 2 years. For 10 years, I diversified, I invested, I bought companies that just I made tons of money on because I diversified outside the law practice, right? Even though I still built my law practice to where I had 7 offices in California, I now have partners in 46 states with Penney, Galbraith, Elder, Brandon. We're a national brand firm, and it's booming. But I invested in radio stations, compacting companies that would do. I have a company that does compactors in arenas. The big trash compactors. I invested in that. On and on. Fast food restaurant chains, stuff like that. But I invested because I learned to resist. And guess what? After 10 years, I could go build my mansion. I could buy all the property I want, and I can pay cash for it. Right? And now they say, don't do that. I'm different. But so that's the way I have built my businesses in every aspect, the law firms, my businesses. And to this day, I still have to resist. I want a new jet. I know this is a really first world problem, right? I'm on my second jet. I want a third bigger one. But you know what? I'm resisting, right? I'm still resisting because I can take that money and invest it in other things. So that's kind of been my mantra my whole life since I started business, Mike, and it's worked. It's worked.
Wow. Again, we're on with super lawyer Fred Penney. He's also the author, and we're going to talk about his book in a little bit called Goose, Imagine the Possibilities. You've heard him up until this point. He's not just a lawyer. He's an entrepreneur. He's a motivational speaker. He's an investor. He's doing a lot of things, and his story is remarkable. Humble beginnings and really doing big things and continuing to do big things not only within the legal world, but within the business world as well. So if you'd like some more information, you can actually just go to pennylawyers.com. There's some information about him there as well. If you'd like to pick up his book, you could just check, just go to anywhere books are sold. It's Frederick Penney is his real name. And the title of the book is Goose, Imagine the Possibilities. So, earlier we talked about, I kind of quoted Zig, which I said, he taught me that if, I say the same thing. I've never failed at anything in my life. The temporary defeats, everyone's kind of just basically making it their own. Let's talk about the difficult times though, right? Because, any successful entrepreneur that I know is in Napoleon Hill has a quote, something along the lines of, a lot of successful entrepreneurs are, have one foot hanging over the edge of failure. Were there moments in your career where you either got hit really hard and you weren't sure if you were going to come back? And if so, what did you do in order to bounce back?
Sure. So it reminds me when I spoke at a very poor high school. The principal and some teachers asked, would you come speak to these children that are, juniors, seniors, and help motivate them to become successful? And I remember talking to these kids, and there was a rural community in a high school. And the one boy raised his hand and he said something to the effect of this. I can't remember the exact thing, but he basically said, how is it my dad's not successful and you are? And I'm like, And how do you, as a lawyer, I can answer any question. I mean, that's a loaded question, right?
Yeah, it is.
How do you answer that? So I remember my answer, and I've kind of taken that to heart about, falling on the ground. I said, I don't know your dad, but maybe, just maybe, I got off the ground more times than he did. And even to this day, Mike, I'm always getting off the ground. And that's, to me, the importance of success. And we always hear about it, get off the ground. Everyone's like, oh, you've made it. Well, don't forget, success in the dictionary is a noun. I always tell people, go into the dictionary and cross out the N and put a verb. Success is a verb. It's an action. It's not a destination, right? It's not a destination, success. We're always looking for success, right? It's the challenge of constantly trying to succeed. I'm still trying to succeed. It never ends. So, I don't see, okay, what did I fail at? There's a lot of businesses that I've invested in that didn't do well, but that's okay. That's okay. And I do what's called a 5, right? I do 5. What's the 5 is I always invest in like 5 different companies, and 2 of them statistically are going to fail, but those other 3 are going to make up for the 2 that failed. And by the way, all 5 of those, Mike, are all interrelated, right? I bought radio stations. We have a radio station company. Why do I buy radio stations? Guess who the biggest advertiser is? Penney and Associates Injury Lawyers, right? So I go in and I'd say, how much? Oh, it's like, $500 an ad. I go, no, for the whole station. And then I, buy the station, right? So I buy the station. And so that's the way I see things. And for me, it's just weird. It's like, Freddie, have you fallen? Yeah, of course we've fallen. Of course things haven't worked out, but I just keep going forward and I use those as experiences. And you know what? It buoys up my other, I don't care. I had a company called Penney Racing Supply, Comtech Race Engines, Pacific Challengers. I'm huge into race cars. Never made money. I've had it for 20 years, sold it in 2019. Comtech Race Engines, we won the Indy 500 in 2001 with Juan Pablo Montoya. We built those engines. I never made money, but my name was scattered all over the racing industry in the West Coast, right? And to this day, I still get people refer me cases from the racing industry. That's why I did it. It never made me money. People thought I was stupid, but see, I'm different than others. You don't have to always make money on your business if it builds your other businesses. And that's the way I've seen it.
Have you had though anything, within your business career that was fairly catastrophic though? Things like look, in 2007, 8, 9, 10, people lost, a lot in real estate, and some people lost everything, and even now, and with COVID, we know that stuff. But has there ever been anything, whether it be, I guess, in one of your businesses or in your career, like listen, when I tell the same thing to people, I say, well, I never failed at anything. Well, okay, I missed the bar exam the first time by one question, and I tell people, I said, I didn't fail, I just missed it. But that's a pretty good gut punch, right? Honestly, I didn't study. I only studied for 2 weeks. That's why I didn't pass. I just, I was busy. I was working. I needed to make money, right? So I know why I didn't pass. But has there ever been anything that's maybe just outside of your control that she's like, wow, I can't believe that just happened? And that's what I'm getting at, because again, a lot of people just like you, that has to be like, for me, I get my examples all the time. There was one day I had 800,000 frozen in my bank accounts in one day, and that puts a lot of people out of business. I've had, 20 million embezzled from me over time. So, when I think of that stuff, again, puts people out of business. And look, there's times where I want to curl up in the corner and cry and call it a day. Right. But like you said, like that guy's dad, I'm going to keep getting up because I have a daughter too. But is there anything like that you maybe haven't talked about, where you're like, fuck yeah, you know what? I remember that one day when I walked into my office and this happened and this is what we did.
You know what? It happens all the time. But is it catastrophic? I'm going to tell you the answer is no, Mike. I've never, and I knock on wood. And you know why I do that? Because I know it can. I'm always scared that I'm going to lose it all tomorrow. Okay. I'm always scared. No, let me back up. I'm not scared.
No, that's great to hear. No, I know what you're saying. And
I'm worried.
I don't even like saying it the way you said it. But
yes. I'm worried I'm losing it all tomorrow. Right. And you need to have that mindset.
Right.
Because when you get cocky, it's like, oh, I'm big, I've done it. You're going down.
Right.
You're going down. And
comfort is the killer of success.
That's exactly right. I'm with you on that. So to me, I've always been that way. To this day, I'm still very conservative in what I do. I'm a long-term become successful. I truly believe people can become rich quick, but I think statistically that's a much lower situation. And so I've just done it the old-fashioned long-term grind way. I just grind nonstop, and I've been doing it for 36 years, 35 years, right? Just grinding. And I'm okay with me getting rich quick with people, but statistically, it's not going to happen. And don't people, hit themselves and pound themselves when they're not successful within a year. Dude, some of my businesses have taken 10 years to make a profit, right? Right. But they're booming now, right? They're booming. And so for me, I've always been pretty conservative in what I've done, because guess what? How did I grow up, Mike? I don't need things. I'm okay to be poor. I mean, I'm not okay to be poor, but I'm okay that I don't have something, right? I take, by the way, I have a brand new 2022 Bentley, and I take that Bentley. And by the way, I had one that I traded in, my one that was a few years younger. I take that Bentley back to where I grew up, and I drive those country roads probably once every other week. It's probably about 30, 40 minutes from where I am. And I remember who I am, and I never forget where I came from. And that puts it in perspective. In fact, you drive by the little tiny volunteer firehouse, and it's called the Frederick Ernest Penney Jr. Memorial Fire Station, after my dad. It was named after my dad. And what a wonderful, and I just go there. Sometimes I'll have a tear. I'll just like tear up and remember the simple times. Because you know what? I am no happier now than I was when I had nothing growing up. My happiness has not changed. Now, you know as well as I do, yes, I'm happier with my wife, my children, my grandchildren, my relationships, right? But I'm no happier today. It has not changed, my happiness.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. Again, it's ridiculous how similar we are. I think we're obviously a little bit different age, but when I'm looking at your jet back then, I remember for me, one of the most, well, not the most, but I mean, I remember I bought my first Rolex, and it was the Submariner with the blue face, the one that's on all everybody wants. And I bought it and I paid cash for it, and I was shaking. I paid actual cash for it. I was shaking with the money, and at the time it was $9,700. That's what that cost at the time,
That's a lot.
And I remember putting it on, and the one thing I remember, and this is a weird thing I think for people, is I felt nothing. It didn't make me happy. It didn't make me proud. And then the next thing was I got, I probably could have got a Bentley at the time, but I got the big Lexus, the big sedan. It's like 110 grand for that car. I remember getting that thing, and same thing. And you know what I did with it though, Fred? Very similar to you, but when I would come to the office, I'd park it in away from where my employees were, because I was guilty, I think, of that. I felt nothing. It didn't change my happiness. And I think people who've never experienced that don't understand it, because what are you talking about? How could that not make you happy? It just doesn't. It doesn't make you happy. Look, money makes your life easier, no question about that.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily make you happy. And it's funny you say that too, because my life, I think it was peaks and valleys, and I'm kind of at a maybe not at a valley anymore, but we're at kind of like a break even. When we were in that valley, I wouldn't say that I was happy. Certainly I was unhappy at points, but I don't think it's changed really one way or the other. So it's really important, I think, for people to understand that.
Simple life. Wasn't it true, Mike? It was a simpler life where I have a very high stress. Every little decision I make is big, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even my little decisions. Back when I grew up with my dog, lived in the country, and us friends, we had $5-10 was a big deal, man. That was a big deal. And I look back at that time and say, but here's the thing, I'm happy, but I'm never satisfied.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
I am not satisfied where I am right now. So everyone's like, oh, you're happy, then your happiness hasn't changed. You're still, no, I'm not satisfied. I'll never be satisfied, but I'm still happy.
There was a big study that was done about I own a brand called Wicked Happy, right? And it came about actually when I just said I just want to be happy. Actually, I said I want to be wicked happy, and because we're from Boston. And but there was a study that was conducted several years ago on happiness, and basically what the study said was happiness is not a real thing. What we're really looking for is a sense of accomplishment, and the happiness is fleeting. It happens really, really quickly. But we're really just trying to feel that sense of accomplishment, which gives us self-worth. And that's really what people are chasing. And it's interesting what you say about, you're just not content. You're always trying to find the next thing. I've had my mom say to me, Mike, is it ever going to be enough? No, it's not.
The game, Mike.
Trying to acquire stuff. It's just who I am, right?
It's the game.
Yeah.
I love the game.
Let's talk about, I want to talk about the game itself, in business and entrepreneurship, right? First question is, and I'm sure this question has been asked of you before, becoming a lawyer, going to law school, taking the bar exam, actually becoming a lawyer. Would you suggest that for a career for people now? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know your son's a lawyer and they have some other family members are lawyers, but honestly, becoming a lawyer, I mean, I have an opinion. I'd just like to hear what yours is.
Yeah, the answer is a law degree is great, but you don't have to be a lawyer to have a law degree. Yeah. A law degree will help you think logically.
Right.
And a lot of people who get a law degree do not become lawyers, become successful business people. They top management in corporations, stuff like that. A lot of them like to hire lawyers or potential lawyers coming out of law school. But no, you do not have to be a lawyer to become successful. No, you don't have to go to law school, but a law degree is a great thing to use for more than just becoming a lawyer. And I
Don't you think though it's a little insane? I do, because I have some friends that I went to law school. We went nights, right? So we went 4 years, right? And we spent all this time, and I have some friends that got a JD MBA at the same time, so they went 3 years straight, and they didn't take the bar exam. I'm like, I mean, you've made it this far. At least take the bar exam,
Yeah. Well, I'd take the bar exam, but that's me. Right. But no, you can do, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's whatever you do. My uncle was a very well-to-do man down in Southern California with an upholstery shop, and he had a 9th grade education. Right. But so nothing can stop you no matter where you come from. Everyone says, get a degree, get a degree. But again, I grew up in the country in a small farm. I've got a guy now that doesn't have a degree that has one of the largest West Coast pipeline companies. It's massive. He has a private jet. His jet parks next to mine. The guy lives in a mansion, and he has a high school degree. So you can do it. You don't need a degree to do it, right?
Yeah.
We learn outside. Law school did not teach me to become a lawyer. Law school did not teach me to become a business person, an entrepreneur, or how to run a business. It did not teach me at all. But it taught me how to think critically, and it taught me how to learn to succeed and to fall and to get back up, right? That's what it taught me.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a great. I remember I was actually selling cars at this Lincoln dealership, and the owner actually went to Columbia and BC, and a smart guy, and he tried to convince me to stay there and work in the F&I office. And he's like, "Look, you just get your master's at night." And I'm like, you know what, I know that I want to be a lawyer, and I know that when I graduate from law school and then ultimately take the bar exam, I know I'm going to just be in a place where no one can ever take. Well, in theory, no one can ever really take that from me, right? So I think you're right. I focused half criminal law, half because my family is a bunch of criminals, and then half
Nice.
half business. But then I realized on the criminal side that they're never going to pay me, so I decided to do it.
No.
And it's right too, because you're right, because we do think differently. And usually when I see the negative things that are happening in business or what have you, or the challenges that you're talking about, from cash flow to everything, you learn, some of these things in law school that just even MBA programs don't teach you, right?
No.
Secure transactions, right? Listen, I missed the bar exam. It's great. It's not about me, but I missed the bar exam again by one question. 2 days, second day essays. The whole the second question was all about secure transactions. I knew nothing about secure. I didn't study it. I didn't take it in law school, right? That was ultimately what brought me down in the bar exam. So I went back, right, studied and retook it and crushed it. And I probably could have not even showed up the second day. That's how prepared I was. But my company that I was working for, they had, always had cash flow challenges, but we had tons of money in merchant reserves. And so what I said was, well, we got money, people that loan money to us. Yeah, but we don't have any collateral. Yeah, we do. We got $5 million sitting over here in a reserve. So I just collateralized that and was able to grow the business. I've done that with my business, but no one even knows. It's a one-page document. It's simple. File it, you're good to go. So I would agree with you on that. So like you said, it doesn't teach you to be an entrepreneur, right? I think a lot of people, are enamored by just the word entrepreneur. They think it's sexy. They think it's, somewhat trendy, but I don't think that they understand really what it means to be an entrepreneur. Tell us what it means to be an entrepreneur.
Sure. I think that's a good question. Well, I believe in becoming an entrepreneur. I believe in one important thing, and this has helped me in life, and that is branding. The branding, in my opinion, is one of the most important things, other than resist, right? When it comes time to build whatever business you want. And the brand is you. People brand their companies all the time, but if you sell the company, your brand is gone. So I brand Frederick W. Penney. I brand it, and I don't know if you saw it. I don't know if you've seen my social media, but you see on the tail of my jet, this is the actual jet, is got my name on it. A lot of people say you're an arrogant jerk, and everything I do has my name on it. Right? I don't care. We have a luxury suite at the Golden One Center for the Sacramento Kings NBA team. We have one of the nicest suites. They come in there. We have T-shirts with the jet on the back of that T-shirt. We had a college football team, and a bunch of people came in, and they all put our shirts on. Right? It's about branding your name as an entrepreneur, and that's what I've done, and I've built. And some people will badmouth you for it. But I don't apologize for it. Everything that I do has my name on it. And everything flows from Frederick Penney down to my other businesses, right? So when I'm flying the jet and I land anywhere I land, by the way, I land in places and the people on the line park in the jet. They walk up to my pilots. I hear them go, I hear you guys got t-shirts. They'll go, yeah. And then they've always got about 100 t-shirts in the back that they hand out to the guys on the line. But it's pushing my brand. That's what's important about entrepreneurship, is pushing your brand. And your brand is you. You, Mike, are your brand. You know that. You're the brand. And once people learn that and they put their name, a lot of people rip on Grant Cardone. The guy's got his name everywhere. Good for Grant. I just watched him the other day. He's selling his Malibu mansion, which, by the way,
80 million.
By the way, is about a half a mile from my house. I have a house in Malibu. He's just up the road, right? And good for him for pushing this $40 million house that he bought, and he's trying to flip it. And my brokers know exactly the house and everything, right? In fact, I called him and talked to him about it, right? But good for Grant. Good for Grant for doing
a good lawyer never asks a question that he doesn't already know the answer, or she already knows the answer to. So I'm going to ask you a question, not as a lawyer,
right?
But it is a legal question because I don't know the answer. So I might
not either.
I'm going to preface it with that. So you're talking about branding and talking about your name.
Mm-hmm.
My last book, Blueprint to Business, I talk a lot about IP. Have you trademarked your name?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that. Let's talk about why that's important.
There's multiple There's probably about 12 trademarks I've got on my name: Penney and Associates, Penney Lawyers, Penney this, Penney that. But
by the way, if you had said no, I was like, no way.
Yeah. No, I've trademarked just about everything you can. But I think Goose isn't trademarked yet. It's supposed to be. My publishers are supposed to be doing it.
You can't trademark the title of a book, but you can do
other things. No, but you can trademark the.
I'm not going to tell you about the law. But
I know. The answer is you could put it in different categories.
Right, different categories. Sure.
It'd be called Goose. Imagine the possibilities.
Yeah. Seminars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you trademark your name, but I want you to talk about why that's important. You just talk about branding. People hear branding. And I talk a lot about that as well. But most people aren't like you. They're not lawyers. They're not lawyers. When you're branding, I mean, look, Grant Cardone does not have a trademark on 10X. He might have on some other stuff, but he didn't. In fact, there was someone out there before him. But he's built a massive brand with that 10X, regardless of the trademark. And so that's a whole nother business discussion. But for you, you've trademarked your name. Let's talk about why that's important.
Well, I mean, there's some things you can't trademark. The key is I have a trademark lawyer that I use for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, he's super smart, and he's, believe it or not, one of the most. He might watch this, but his prices are really reasonable, and he handles that.
They just went up.
Yeah, well, he's not going to listen to this. So, right. But it comes down to, not everybody could trademark, but I'm not going to talk about the law in general, but trademarking your information or your name or a book or something, sometimes you still have the rights to it, even though you haven't trademarked it.
Sure, of course.
If you've had it long enough and you've been using it and it's been in the commerce, someone can't come in there and take that. So people think, I didn't trademark it, it's too late. Not necessarily. Talk to a good trademark lawyer. But that's all. It's all about branding. It's just I didn't know that if he had 10X brand trademark or not. It'd be tough to get 10X trademarked. But
yeah, I think he might on some. I remember the last time I looked, he didn't early on, because Grant and I met as a result of my first book. When you travel all the country, it was my book, his book, Tony's, and
right.
Tony Robinson. Yeah. Okay. No, I think a lot of people. So I'll give you another example. When I look at the now WWE, which was the WWF, and they lost it as a result of because of the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation already used it in commerce before them. So Vince McMahon built an entire business and had to basically lose that. But when you look at what Vince McMahon has done with the wrestlers, and people don't realize this, is you a lot of times you don't hear Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson anymore because WWE owns that. John Cena, right? I actually went to college with John Cena, and we played football together. That's his real name. John Cena's real name. Guess who owns it? The WWE, right? And so I think people need to I don't think people understand how valuable their own names can be in the future too, right? So I always tell people, look, if you're out there doing stuff and you're building your brand, because you're talking about branding right now, go ahead and file the trademark. I think it's $375. Most people can do it on their own. It's not that hard to do. And I tell you this, USPTO is probably one of the easiest government agencies to work with. Like if you make a mistake, they'll just be like, hey, you need to fix this. And they usually
that's exactly right. And I used to do it. Actually, it's some lawyers will do it for $1,500 to $2,000. And it sounds like a lot of money. It's not.
Right.
Just get a lawyer that don't go for the big high dollar power trademark lawyers that are having the big corporations. You look, just go to there's some guys that do it that are small time. That's what you do.
So, all right. So we're talking about, again, you said, the law, might be a little boring to you, but I think it's important. I think entrepreneurs who are listening to this right now really need to understand, because, I'm sure you've seen it. You probably even had cases. I've had multiple instances where, I have a friend that is a internationally recognized famous rapper. He actually went to high school with me.
Nice.
And he came to me and wanted me to invest in his business. I tell this in Blueprint to Business, so it's okay. And I said, okay, well, who owns your copyrights? Well, I do. Okay, well, you have a label though, right? Don't they own them? Well, no. Do you have an agreement? No, we don't have an agreement. Okay, well, your partner, right? Because it's a DJ. Okay, who owns the music? Well, we own them together. All right, do you have an agreement that says that? Well, no, we don't have an agreement that says. What about your name? What do you mean? Do you have a trademark on that? No. And so, but he's a massive, this guy, I'll just say his name is Czarface. He's out there, he's doing big things with Wu-Tang, and he's got all sorts of merchandising. My point is that we ended up, making sure that we got the proper marks for him. And now he's out there growing a massive business. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't see that now, because they're just trying to make money. They think they're branding, and they're not necessarily protecting themselves. So, so we're talking about IP, intellectual property. You wrote a book, right? You're a busy guy, man. You're doing a lot of stuff. You got a nationally syndicated radio show. We haven't talked about that, but you wrote a book, which is another form of intellectual property, copyrights, right? Why'd you write the book, Goose, Imagine the Possibilities, and tell us about the book.
So I wanted to always write a book about a tell-all that basically from picking peaches to private jets. That was my mantra. Mm-hmm. How did I get there? I wanted to help people, right? Get there. And so I contacted a good friend of mine, Mark Victor Hansen, and some of his associates. And I sat down and we talked about how we're going to do this. And I didn't want another self-help book. And I don't know if people do it. I'm not saying they're not good, don't do it, but I just didn't want it. And I didn't want to say, okay, I, Frederick Penney, am doing this. You need to do that. This is how I did it. That's fine. But I didn't want to draw that attention. I'm not trying to be, pious, but I just didn't want that. And, sure. And they helped me come up. My publisher said, here's an idea. Let's do this about William Collins. William Collins is a successful business person, and let's talk about his family, but yet incorporates my whole life. And it starts with book one. It's a 3-book series. Book one is William Collins' 75th birthday. I'm 59. So it takes to the future. And that one, by the way, hit. I know it's, you can easily do Amazon bestseller. No, it's not easy on 8 categories. And it's not just the ebook, which is easy for people to do, but it's the paperback, it's the, it was the Western United States, and the hardcover, they all went number 1, right? Mm-hmm. And so for a while, not just a day or two or a minute, sure. They went for a while. So they said, let's do that. And we're going to do a 3-book series where book 2 that's coming out within about 5 months will be about me. It'll take us back from William Collins' 75th birthday, which is a whole book about that one day. It was really interesting about what happens. Then it takes back to William Collins when he's 11 years old in the country. That's book 2. And then book 3 and what he learns growing up, which is what I learned growing up. And then book 3 is going to be about how he built these companies and these businesses. And it's basically going to mirror kind of my life. And that's what the books are about. Exciting, fun. And do I have the time? No, I pretty much laid everything out, and I have people help me. I have to have sure. people help me. I right. can't, I'm not, everyone thinks, yeah, Fred Penney's been sitting there writing no, I don't have time.
Right.
I don't have time. They help me write it, but it's all my stuff.
Sure.
You guys, I don't have time to write every little and or but. And that's and hooking up with Chicken Soup for the Soul, #1 New York Times bestseller, Guinness Book of World Record man, Mark Victor Hansen, and he collaborated with me. You can't go wrong with Mark Victor Hansen.
No, you can't. The guy knows how to sell books. I've met him a few times. In fact, we did some infomercials together back in the day with Dean Graziosi as well. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Congrats on that.
Thanks.
And so Brendan Burchard, his first book, I think it was called The Golden Ticket. It was very similar. It's a parable, right? That's what we call that, a parable, I believe.
Right.
And there's a lot of great things that can be taken. I mean, look at Who Moved My Cheese, kind of, there's a lot of books out there where you can learn a lot from them. So that's fantastic. So the radio show. So when I think about what you do on the radio show, and it's entertaining, two, you're providing advice, and I'm just curious how you feel. I think I might even ask you this question. I don't remember. I wanted to, at least on Clubhouse, when you were on Clubhouse with Dr. Finance. When people call in and they're asking legal questions, do you get concerned at all that someone's going to take your quote legal advice and then maybe potentially something goes wrong? How do we work around that? I honestly don't know the answer to that.
I do. It's easy. So the answer is, #1, it's the most exciting, entertaining, but sometimes informative show on earth. And that's the way we say. That's exactly my saying. And the first thing we say is we're not giving legal advice. We're talking about general topics of law. Seek local counsel. That's a disclaimer we give. And it's right there. And just so you know, we do not give legal advice on the air, period. We don't give legal advice. This is what we say, and this is important. I've been saying this for 6 years. The show's going on its 6th year. The answer is radio law talk. Don't use us as an authority. The only time you can use authority is around the dinner table when the in-laws show up at Thanksgiving and they say, then you say, wait a minute. You use the they say. I'm going to counter that with a radio law talk says as follows. That's the only time you can use us as authority. And that's what we say. So there you go. Around the dinner table when the in-laws try to one up you, you just say, you know what, radio law talk says as follows. That's the only time you can use it.
So I think you said the show's like syndicated in like 130 stations or something crazy like that.
Hundreds.
So we talked about time management. Is it every day? Is it once a week? How many times are you doing this thing?
Good question. So they want us, our producer, I brought in Cal Hunter, the 3-time Emmy Award nominated producer, never a winner. We remind him he's never a winner. And the reason he's not a winner is he said, look, when you go to the awards ceremony, Cal, and they put you in the back and they say, after the awards ceremony, can you help take down the tables? You're not going to win. And that's what we tell our producer all the time. So we're trying to get him an award and let him win something. But we say, look, and he goes, I know, I think they put me in the back every time. And that's what we do. So we make it fun. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard, we follow that thing all along. Every single case we talk about is going to have a twist on it. And we're going to have fun with it and talk about, look, what it's really like to be a lawyer and what's happening behind the scenes. That's what's fun, is to talk about behind the scenes. I have 2 co-hosts. Denise Dirks is a family law attorney, a very 30-year family law lawyer. And then Todd Cunin is an actor, and he's been on many commercials, and he's a voice actor on video games. And he's a former prosecutor for the DA's office in Tennessee and California and public defender's office. So we all collaborate and make this thing fun, exciting, and people love it. And they pick it up. I am stopped so many times. I'm shocked. I'm stopped so many times, and people say, "You're Fred Penney." And I go, "How do you know?" They go, "Your voice." They just know my voice. Never miss your show. Never miss your show. I had someone on Clubhouse the other day from some other, I don't know. Well, I know we're all over Georgia. I think we're in Chicago. I have to look at the list. We're all over the place. And dude, I listen to your show every freaking week. And I'm like, really? Where are you? Oh, we're in this place in Georgia. Oregon. We're all over Oregon. We're all over, Washington.
So is it it's once a week that you're doing once a week?
Yeah, it's right. So it's once a week, Saturday live, 9 to noon Pacific time, but they want us to go 3 by 5. Mm-hmm. They're asking us, our producer, the stations, they want us 3 by 5, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
That's a big commitment.
That's big commitment. People don't realize the size of the commitment. Everyone thinks, oh, Rush Limbaugh, look at how big he, you know what? That's 1 in a million, right?
Well, not only that, but that's his career. That's the only thing
Yeah,
he's doing.
right, right. And so for me, I can't, they want us to go 3. In fact, they brought it up again last week. You guys need to go 3 by 5. And I'm like, I can't take that. I don't have that time.
Well, again, the preparation behind it too, right? It's just, you're not just turning on the mic and just going, so
no, it's a lot of work.
People don't realize listen, what I'm doing as a podcast, I have been doing it for a long time, but the difference between this is, one, we're not live, and to be able to hold someone's, hold an audience for 3 hours straight, or to talk for 3 hours straight, or Howard Stern 5-6 hours. People don't understand not only to be that talent, but also the preparation work involved. Is if you're on for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's beyond a full-time job.
No, yeah, you can't. It's very difficult. Yeah. And not only that, we have callers that call in, and we got to answer. You talk to them, and it's always hey, give me advice about this is what's going on in my divorce. Oh, wait, don't say it on the air.
Right.
It's like, come on, dude, don't do that. So
have you ever had anybody essentially incriminate themselves live on air?
Oh yeah, all the time they start to, but we our screener tries to stop them,
right?
When they.
But have you had anybody just full on just commit to admit to committing a felony or something? Or
no, none of that. But they'll talk about their case, right?
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, that's attorney-client, but don't, and you stop them. Don't say anything. Don't tell me on the air, right? And if they're smart, they'd say, I know this person that. That's how they do it. But no, we don't take a lot of calls. We'll take maybe 1 or 2 a day, because we're talking about stuff. We don't, callers are great, but sometimes it's like, okay, we don't put them on the air.
Fred, listen, man, I want to thank you for spending this time with us. I don't know what you charge an hour, but I'm sure it's probably, north of $1,200, maybe, if I had to guess.
McDonald's hamburger.
So I want to thank you for spending time. But before I let you go, for those listening, again, you are an entrepreneur through and through. It's in your core. Like you said, before, I think you said you're a business person first and a lawyer second. But for those listening, entrepreneurs, you've given us such great advice. There's some great anecdotes. And, is there anything that you just say, this is one thing that if I'm, other than resist, is there one thing where if you're an entrepreneur or you want to be an entrepreneur, this is what you need to do? Is there anything on the top of your head that you could say, oh, I would do this or not do this?
Yeah, no, here the answer is just, we're all on a ladder. We're on different parts of a ladder. Just make sure don't worry that you're not on the top of the ladder. All you hear about these people making money, even if you're at the bottom, you could still use the same advice to grow. But this is the most important thing I always like to leave with people. Remember, at the end of the day, on your tombstone, the epitaph only has 2 lines. So just remember, in perspective, what's important in life. Family, God, whatever your God relation, whoever you worship, your relationships, your family, that's what's most important. Not money, not fame, not wealth, not success. Because success is how you treat people and who you're with, and your family. And that's what it's about. And your God, right? And that's what I leave people with.
Man, that's good. But I have to ask you one more thing as it came to you. I'm sorry, I never do this. Usually we just end it, but I'm thinking about you in your career, and you said your age, you said you're 59, and you've been working since you were 13, or probably even younger than that.
Before that.
Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, retiring. Are you ever going to retire?
No.
Why?
The answer is I will slow down, but I will never retire, because I love the game too much. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be going the speed I'm going now when I'm 70. Right? I'm sure I'll back down a little bit, but I've made my life easier by having a private jet and my own pilots, so I can get to 5 cities in a day or 4 cities in a day and do things and get stuff done, and I can sleep in my own bed. That's how I changed my life to make it better. And I'm not going to even call it retired, but make it easier on my health and myself. Right? That's what I do. But I'll ever fully retire? No. I love the game way too much, Mike.
That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a true entrepreneur, a real businessman. Listen, this is what we do on the Alden Report. We bring real people doing real things, making a real impact on the world. Again, we've been on with Fred Penney, and I could probably talk to him for the next 4 or 5 hours about all sorts of stuff. But again, listen, if you'd like some more information about Fred, you can just go to pennylawyers.com. You could just Google Frederick Penney. Also, his latest book is out, and who knows when you're listening to this, maybe his second book is out by then as well. It's sold it's available where all books are sold. The first book that we're talking about right here, it's an internationally recognized #1 bestseller in dozens of categories. Goose, Imagine the Possibilities. Pick it up on Kindle, pick it up on hardcover. Again, it's available. We're pretty much where all books are sold. And look, if you want to be inspired, take a look, go to his website, read his bio. I've read it. We talked a little bit about it. But this guy and what he's doing, you've heard him from the very beginning. He's, he claims to be average. I think he's above average, but really kind of the moral of this guy's story is he worked his ass off day in and day out to get what he has today. And he came with us today and shared with us today. Before we went live, he had his family in the background, his grandchildren, his son and his daughter-in-law. He's doing it all, and he's doing it all the right way. So my name is Mike Alden, and that is Fred Penney, and we will see you soon.
I'm super excited about our latest program. Look, we've been on television for close to 20 years, literally selling hundreds of millions of dollars with products and services that have had a positive impact on people's lives. We've created millionaires. If you've ever watched television, you've most likely seen me on television, not dressed like this, but in a suit and a tie. Listen, we've re-engineered the process. We're allowing people, a small group of people, whether you're an author, whether you're a business coach, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you have a program or a service that you feel as though that can have a positive impact on people's lives, and you want to up-level your game. You're tired of what's going on social media. You're tired of AI is not kicking in. You're tired of all the money that you spent and you're not seeing any return. You're tired of all these fraudsters out there that tell you they're going to put you in Huffington Post or USA Today or Forbes, and it's nothing but a joke. You want to be in front of millions of people every single day all over the country. Folks, we've been doing it for 20 years. We've re-engineered the process. We've made it possible for the average everyday person to participate in this. If you want to up-level your game, if you truly want to build your profile, if you truly want to get in front of millions of people every single day, send me a direct message at Mike Alden 2012. You'll see it on the bottom of the screen, at Mike Alden 2012, and put TV in the message, and I will get back to you personally and see if you're a good fit for us. Again, send me a direct message at Mike Alden 2012. Send me the message TV, and we'll see if you're a good fit.